Hi everybody, today we're going to learn about the ancient Roman class system. Okay, this reminds me of when we were learning about Egypt and we had to learn about the different classes. And at the very top of the pyramid in ancient Egypt was the pharaoh. So this is not a whole lot different. Now I'm going to make it in a tree map and later you're going to turn it into a class pyramid. Okay, at the top of the class system was the king until he was overthrown, and we're going to work on that tomorrow or next week. So we're going to separate the class system really into two main parts. And on this part, on the left hand side, we're going to have, these are our citizens. Okay. These are the citizens. We're going to talk about those next. And over here, we're going to have the non-citizens. Now, I'm talking about the citizens and the non-citizens. I am only talking about males. I am not talking about any of the females because technically none of them were citizens. Okay, they were kind of more like property of whatever family they were born into. So we're talking about males here with the citizens and the non-citizens. For the non-citizens, it's broken up into two parts, okay? And the lowest class we have is slaves. Now, we've talked a lot about slaves, and a huge population of those who lived in Rome were slaves, okay? Now, slaves worked in the lower end households. They might have one or two, and in the very, very upper households, they had a lot of slaves, and working for the king, of course, he had a lot of slaves, okay? Now, who made up the slaves, okay? Mostly they were the prisoners of war. They were brought back from various wars, or they were foreigners. That means they came from other places. And these are our slaves. What did the slaves do? Well, most of them worked on farms. They would pull the food out, they would tend to the crops, or they would work in the household doing menial chores, or they might work in the mines, doing things that the other people didn't want to do, basically. And then over here we had the freemen. Oops, freemen, because more than one. Now, the freemen were former slaves. They have earned their freedom or bought their freedom. Not really sure how they would do that. But we have the freemen. So we have the majority slaves, and then we have a little less freemen. The freemen have gotten their freedom, but they cannot ever become citizens, never. All right, so here's our non-citizens. We're gonna move over here to our citizens, and this is where we know a lot more about. We have what's called the plebeians. I know it's a fun word to say, plebeians. Always forget how to spell it, plebeians. Now, the plebeians were the common people. Okay, these were your regular, everyday farmers and merchants and traders. Okay, they were also made up most of the army. That's going to be important later. These are your plebeians. They were the common people. They were citizens, but they didn't have very much power. Those who held the power are the upper class citizens, and we call them the patricians. Now, there were not that many of these people. They're the ones who hold the power. They kind of make the rules. They later have their power more depleted, but in the beginning, when we had a king in Rome, this is the place you want to be, okay? They're members of the noble families. And you were born into it. Usually when you're born into one class and you stay there, you marry within the class, you don't go outside of the class. Now later that changed, but for now we're here. They were very wealthy, okay? They owned the giant land, okay? A lot of land that the other people worked. They own large farms. Okay, So these really are our 4 classes we're going to concentrate on. In the very tippy top, we're going to have the king, who later gets overthrown for being tyrannical. Okay, just so that you can see how the people are separated, and you're going to kind of need this for your pyramid you're going to fill in, I have some citizens here for you, aka the Avengers. Now, if these are all the people who are living in Rome, and there was a lot of people who ended up living in Rome, we have a lot of them are going to be slaves. So I'm going to put some over here for slaves. You might recognize some of them. All right, so we have our slaves over here, and some of them who became freemen, but they're still living there, but they're not owned anymore. Here, I'll put them down here. And then we have our plebeians. And our noble patricians. I'm missing a guy. 2, 4, 5, 2, 4, 6, 8. Whatever. And then here's our king up here. You can see how the pyramid would come together. What is the smallest group up to the largest group that were living in ancient Rome. Now later on, the plebeians revolt because they want to have more say-so in how the government is run. Only the patricians are making the rules later after the king is overthrown. So we're going to talk about that later, and about how the republic is formed and what does the United States kind of take from that republic that we use today. So I hope that helps. I want you to go into the assignment section and look for the Ancient Roman Class System Google Drawing so that you can fill that out, and I need that submitted today. All right, see you later.